Hello everyone and welcome to Geek Academy channel. I'm your detective host Igor, and today we are finally deep diving into episode 3 of season 1 of one of my favorite TV shows, Severance. This was my Mount Everest, and it's not because this episode had way more information than any other. It has enough, but it's not unique in that matter. What's unique about it is that finally I understood that I need to wipe out my board because there is too much to put just on the slides, and I need to start organized all the information that we have about this TV show. And this is why it took me so much time to prepare this video. I hope it's going to be interesting for you because we're going to deep dive into Egan's lore, we're going to talk about their dynasty, we're going to talk about their philosophy and maybe some of their ideas, and there's going to be a lot of interesting information. But before we begin, as usual, I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon and on YouTube. Your financial support is what makes this channel possible. And I would love to welcome Sandra Warfield, who started as a motivator, then upgraded to champion, and now she became a beacon of light. And I also want to welcome AC as a new motivator. Thank you so much for joining this small but awesome community. As usual, I prepared a lot of interesting facts for you, so
these facts should be very pleasing. Try to enjoy each equally.
So right away I want to start with an example that explains what I mean when I say let's work on the board. So if you remember, we started already to dive into the topics of the badges, the colors, the contrast, the whole Kier town and so on and so on. So let's say in episode 3 we have Natalie, and right now we understand that she also is wearing the badge with the drop. And for example, we have this shot once again, the contrast between the blue and red, and we also have like a new file that we can add to our database of all of the files that we have seen already until this moment. Pitey here is talking about the Sunset Park. Sunset Park, as far as I can Google, this is Brooklyn. And here we can see, this police officer, he's wearing the badge of Kier Town, and it's for some reason the symbol of this town is actually the bridge. I would assume it would be, the building, the Lumon building, the biggest main building where 50% of the town is working, but it's actually this not very special bridge, but still cool bridge, but like a symbol of a town. I don't know, maybe I'm just picking it. And also we talked about, the monopoly, the Lumon is basically building everything. They're in the business of everything. So we can see here technical devices like the radio here. We can see once again the recorder is also have the Lumon logo on it. We have, the fire extinguisher there also have, like, it's kind of blurry, but it's Lumon, trust me on this. And here we have also some kind of a medical supplies like, the alcohol, and even the gloves have some kind of a Lumon brand. Here in this moment we have Mark, and he's talking about his neighborhood, that it never filled up. And right now we know that everybody from our Inis actually live in a different, neighborhood that has a different name. Like, Dylan lives in his own neighborhood with the drop there. We have also like Irving living in the Leonora Falls neighborhood, and he lives in the Bird Creek, and looks like every neighborhood has like 2-3 people. Maybe one of the reasons why they all live in the different separate neighborhoods is because once again Lumon don't want them to meet, like never, like exclude any possible option for that. And another pretty strong violation of privacy by Lumon towards their own employees is that we can see that the management, even not like the top management, but someone like Miss Selvig has a master key that probably can open every apartment in this place. Like, it looks like it has like a Lumon there, something related to the company, and she basically opens up Mark's house with the key. So is it a master key? Is it like just a key from his house and she somehow obtained it? I don't know, but once again it feels like a huge violation of privacy. So what do I mean when I'm talking about the board? Let's move on to the board. As you can see here, we have some information. This is obviously some information, not all, that I'm starting to gather while I'm going to be watching episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and of course everything we're going to see in the new season. So let's talk about, let's say, the colors. Okay, we are seeing the colors, the contrast here between blue and red and the green and yellow. So I added the image from episode 3 to all of the images that I gathered from the first 2 episodes. Let's say we're talking about the town of Kier. We are talking here about, the bridge, the symbol. We have the Kier Egan statue. We have the house in here that it's Bayard Egan, and obviously it's called in honor of his name. If we're gonna zoom in here, we can see like the neighborhood never filled up because it's there just for Mark S. possibility. And we can see that Lumon executives, or just Selvig have a master key for the house. So we have also like the Philip Pip Agan. Once again, we have like the restaurant on his name, and we get this information like how the town works for Lumon and Severance compatible attire. This is what we have regarding the town. So you see right now what I'm doing. When I have this all in front of me in that kind of form, it makes easier to find more connections, to find more explanations, to look for something more reasonable to basically, explain it to you. Now, also we have the files here, all of the locations, like let's say I have all of the locations here from the first 2 episodes, and I added this one from episode 3. Okay, this one is called the Sunset Park, Brooklyn. We have something that is called Ocula. No place like that as far as I can say, and also some information about the files that they basically can expire at some point. So you get the picture here, like we have the products. Once again, we have the medical equipment, we have the electronics, we have the office supplies. The more products I'm gonna be seeing while I rewatch this TV show, I'm gonna be adding it here, because once again, every time to just remind you that there is like some kind of a person with a badge of the drop or something like this, it's gonna take too much time, and I think it's gonna be less efficient and actually less interesting for you. And of course, I'm gonna leave the link to this board, so you'll be able to check it out and see by yourself. You're not gonna be able to do any changes, but you can check it by yourself. So what else do we have here? Something that I can share with you. And yeah, the badges. As I say to you, we can see here that Milkshake from season 1 is having the full logo. So is Mr. Grainer, and so is the lab coat on Bird. But Miss Casey, the receptionist, and Natalie, they're having the drop. So far, no connection. So far, I don't see why those are wearing the full logo and why those are wearing just the drop. You can maybe assume that this is like women are wearing the drop and men are wearing the logo, but we have seen already in season 2 that Milkshake is wearing the drop logo. So far, it looks pretty random. It can stay that way. Actually, maybe it's, the Star Wars case when Samuel L. Jackson just chose for himself the purple lightsaber because he just wanted purple. And nobody didn't really care that it was just green and red until this point, green and blue and red until this point. Doesn't really matter to me, but what I'm saying is that maybe this is just the case and we're putting too much thought into it. But I'm still checking this out. Maybe it's going to be more than that. So you get the picture. From the next rewatches, every time I'm going to find some new details, I'm going to run through them very, very fast, and we're going to discuss new topics and new points. So let's get back to our screenshots. Let's talk a little bit about Selvig, okay? Just to get to know the person a little better. She's obviously not, cleaning freak or something like this. You can see the fridge, it's pretty messy, and we can see some of the boxes are taken straight away from Lumon. It doesn't look like it was bought in the supermarket. It looks like it was taken from the severed floor. We know all of their, like, the food that they get there, they're actually like, it's in those green, yellow, red boxes. Actually, if you didn't listen to the podcast of Ben Stiller and Adam Scott, you definitely should. There's a lot of interesting information there. And one of the things the creators were talking about in the previous episode of the podcast, they were actually saying that the Audis decide what Innies eat. So you can give the list to the Lumon administration and you tell them, like, please feed my Innie, chicken on Monday, on fish on Tuesday, and Wednesday it's gonna be soup, and I don't know, like Thursday let's give him pizza or something like this. And administration of Lumon actually provides them the food. So yeah, like, once again, just something sidetrack, completely not related to what we are actually looking at, but I thought it's an interesting piece of information for you to know. So yeah, she's kind of messy because she has different priorities, and here in this moment we can see one of them, Lumon Kir-Agan quotes, "We must be cut to heal." It's kind of, yeah, it's logical, but it's also a little bit psychotic. Like, once again, it's kind of makes being hurt and being injured as something glorified, and I don't think it is the case. I don't think you should escape every pain in your life and try to guard yourself from any kind of hurt. Obviously, we need it to grow and to become better, but in moderation. Don't make it like something that you should do every day in order to be healed or whatever. So yeah, like she's obsessed with Mark. And what's interesting for me in this scenario is that she's not the only one. Obviously, she has some kind of a plans for Mark and Gemma. She wants something to happen. She wants them to recognize each other, that some kind of a memory will be sparked or something like this. I cannot explain any other way for her to take this candle and actually take it there to the wellness session. We're gonna see it in the next episode. But what is interesting for me here, that it's Milkshake is also on this. He knows that Mark and everything that happens with him is somehow very important. And it's not like Cold Harbor is very much in the focus in season 1. This is something that was introduced to us only in season 2. And if you can see, like, completely obsessed with Mark, and they know every little detail of his life. Like, she knows that this is Rickon's 5th book. This is already like, dark territory of information. Even the stalkers from You, or whatever the TV show is called, he wasn't going to those measures. Like, how many books the husband of the sister of the guy you are obsessed with actually has written. This is like, this is what I call being dedicated. And by the way, Milkshake is not surprised. He is there, as I told you, in this whole situation. Now, what is once again very interesting, because when we see Milkshake reading this book, he is laughing at it. He's like, oh, what the hell is this? Like, I mean, who would even read it and take it seriously? The successful success, the believe in yourself, the soulful soul, whatever. Like, this is kind of ridiculous. And even though we kind of, theorize that maybe Milkshake is severed, even if he is, this is a different kind of severance than our Innies, our usual heroes, that when they read this book, it was completely, like a revolutionary thought for them. They were, oh my god, they put the I in focus, not the everybody, not the corporation, not Kier Egan. I am in focus, and this is what basically drove them to the whole rebellion thing. And Milkshake is like, basically, this is a stupid shit. Who would believe in this? So yeah, if he is severed, it's a different type of severance. So moving forward, once again, the whole technique of manipulation there, it's very children-like. It's very, like, I'm hurting you because I care for you. Like when our parents used to punish us for something. Like, I was lucky enough that my parents never raised a hand on me, but obviously I got punished. Things were taken from me. I got my liberties and freedoms were taken from me. I couldn't like play video games or something like this if I would fuck up on school or something, whatever. Like, and then they would always tell, like, the reason I'm doing this for you, because I care, because I love you and I want you to grow. And this is exactly what Miss Selvig says to Mark. Like, the reason I'm throwing this glass at you is because this is what requires for you to grow, because you're a freaking stupid child. And once again, this is kind of heartbreaking, because it's kind of true, but it's also still a very grown person with a lot of different requirements than a kid. So yeah, it is weird. Now, this moment also, when she throws the cup, and then Mark is basically saying to her, like, should I leave the door open and closed? And she's saying both. Like, it felt a little bit important to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, and I would love to know what you think in the comments. Maybe she's just basically saying, you know what, I don't really care, like, leave it open or closed, or, maybe just a little open, but it kind of seems like closed. Maybe there's not too much into it, but it kind of feels like, especially with our personalities being divided into two different people, and kind of feels that there is something. I don't know what. Maybe she's like implying, and her whole process and her whole goal is basically to make Mark to remember his Audi, to remember Gemma, and she believes that no matter how severed you are, you're still like two people inside of one, and this is why she's saying both. But once again, I can feel myself stretching this idea too much. So once again, am I alone here, or are you actually feeling this too? Like, she means here something for the benefit of the audience. This is the creators putting something for us, and not specifically for Mark, who basically doesn't really understand what the hell she's talking about, how you can leave the door both open and closed. Anyway, we're moving forward to the Natalie, and we're talking about Pitey, and yeah, she's saying like the board concluded the call. So once again, like, she is the one who's talking to the board, and we're seeing right now in season 2 that there's this Mr. Drummond and her, and they're probably way closer to the board or to Jamie Egan than Selvig. She is kind of important, and I wouldn't be surprised if she also has a tattoo somewhere that is basically written there like Woo or Dread or Malice, just like Drummond has Frolic on his arm. So we're moving forward to Pitey, and he's basically presenting to us some kind of an organization that works against Lumon. We know that they have competitors, just like in Lexington Letter. We know they have some kind of a people, like those children next to the statue, like that were basically screaming, MDR, Lumon is bad, blah, blah, blah. But Pitey is saying basically this is not it. This is someone else. This is someone way more powerful. Like this is a group of people that know Severance is a blight on mankind. And when Mark said like this is the whole main collective, those kids next to the statue? No, this is obviously not them. Pitey is laughing there. He's saying those are just stupid kids. So we know that Irving, for example, was looking for people who are severed. He had a map. When Milkshake presented himself in his place, he had like a bullshit story for him. Like, I'm just watching the opera right now. I have money for you. Let me stay. And then he was calling the phone and he was saying like, my Ini got the message. So I assume that Irving is also part of this organization that Regabi is part of, or maybe Regabi, left the organization. Once again, I need to rewatch season 1. So we should keep in mind, and while we watch season 2, also notice that maybe some people can be actually this organization that works against Lumon. So we have Natalie here wearing red, once again symbolizing the red and blue contrast, and we see this guy. I don't know if he's one of this group that Pitey is talking about. Probably not, because he didn't feel like a serious competitor to Natalie. Anyway, let's talk about the main issue of this episode, and this is the whole Lumon lineage, the philosophy, the tactics, and this is the time to talk a lot. I should prepare myself. So first of all, we discover that nepotism is not a bad word in Lumon, and every CEO for the past 150 years were all Agans. So we have, let's say, this list of people, all of the wax statues standing here. So yeah, it took me some time, but we have every CEO when they were born, and then when they started to be CEO and when they finished. So Kier Egan was a CEO until the day he died. We had, for example, Ambrose, the one who was right after him. If you remember, he is considered to be the black sheep of the family, and we talked about him in episode 2 in this moment, when Irving was admiring what Bird did with the Ambrose cycle. So let's move to the board and see what we gather here. So yeah, we have the whole Lumon Industries section here, and instead of going screenshot, especially since it's kind of like a tree, a succession tree here, I decided to do it like this. So we have the total 8 CEOs, and let's see who are, our main heroes in air quotation marks. So we have Kier Egan. He was a CEO until from 1865 to 1939. Then it was Ambrose, who is considered to be a black sheep for a reason. He was just 2 years CEO from 1931 to 1941. Keep in mind that 39 is the beginning of the World War II. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised that in this alternative universe or alternative history, Lumon was somehow related to the whole World War II situation. 1941 is, by the way, the year when, the big break was in Soviet Union, when the whole Barbarossa operation started and the Nazis attacked the Soviet Union. I don't know, once again, if it's related, but it kind of feels a little bit, so maybe. Then we have the Myrtle Egan from 41 to 59, the first woman CEO. Then we have the Barrett Egan, the neighborhood where Mark lives. This is the guy. And by the way, look at those faces. Look at those wax figures. They all look like actors, like living people. It feels maybe that the creators are leaving for themselves an option to bring a live actor to portray one of the Egans. Maybe it's going to be flashback, or maybe, all the theories that they wanted to revive everybody and give them, the whole endless life and being immortal kind of shit. So maybe it is possible, because they all look real, especially this guy. This guy looks very familiar. Gerhard Egan from 59 to 87. He was a long-time CEO. Then we have the Pip Egan, the Philip Egan from 87 to 99. And then we have the Leonor. This is where the neighborhood where Irving lives right now, the Leonore Falls or the Leonore River or something like this, and 2003 until now we have Jamie Egan. So you understand some of the moments when we're gonna switch to the board, because I feel that the board will present and visualize the ideas and the information in a better way than just showing you screenshot after screenshot after screenshot. Now let's get back to our topics. Another interesting thing is there are two speeches here in this room, one by Myrtle Egan and one by Keir Egan, like we are hearing them. So once again, instead of going through 20 screenshots when we just reading sentence after sentence, let's move back to the board. So under the whole Lumon Industries, we have also the philosophy and culture section, and let's read the quotes pretty fast here from Myrtle, for example. I think that to be an Egan, either a true Egan or anyone working in this Lumon family, I hate it when corporations call their workers family. You don't fire your family as soon as you they're not efficient enough or something like this. Stop with this bullshit. Who even believes that? I mean, I'm all for working, giving 150%, growing a corporation. Like, if this is the path you want, I support it 100%. And even if I wouldn't, who gives a crap about my opinion? But stop calling your employees family. The only family you have is the one you cannot fire. And you actually don't want to fire them because they're your family. Anyway, what is the keeper of an ethos, a compact of values that we have long held as precious, and which I do believe will one day save this world. Remember this moment, we're actually gonna get back to it, and that ethos goes all the way back through my blood to where we all started with Keir. When I was a girl, my father would make me whisper. So once again, he's not only thinking about the tempers, he actually managed to visualize and philosophize the 9 characteristics that you need to have in order to tame thy tempers. Probably this is the connection I'm building in my head already, because once again, in order to tame thy tempers, you need to become a certain type of person, and you need to have the vision, you need to have the verve, the wit, the cheer, the humility, the benevolence, the nimbleness, the probity, and whilst this is all positive, all of them are positive here, and if you remember the tempers, 3 of them, maybe even 4, if you consider frolic to be negative, they're kind of negative. Malice, you want to hurt people; dread, you're being scared; woo, you're grieving; and frolic, you're just being playful. So once again, if this is the jester, if he's the one who symbolizes that, it's once again, it's kind of foolishness, and it's not something very positive. So you need those 9 characteristics, positive characteristics, to tame those 4 negative tempers. Now we have also a quote from Keir himself, praise Keir. In my life, I have identified 4 components, which I call tempers, from which are derived every human soul: woo, frolic, dread, and malice. Once again, his view of humanity is not very positive. It needs to be fixed. It needs its own remedium hominibus, cure for humanity. Now, each man's character is defined by the precise ratio that resides in him. Someone is more frolicky, someone is more afraid. I mean, there is no way for Keir Egan to perceive someone as a good human being. There is no characteristic, there is no temper here that if it's bigger, if it has a higher percentage, you are basically meaning somebody's good. No, the whole humanity needs to be cured. So should you tame the tempers as I did mine, then the world shall become but your appendage. It is this great and consecrated power that I hope to pass on to all of you, my children. So he's probably not talking here just about his children, but as there are those crazy people, to all of his employees, to everybody who works on Lumon, and everybody is his children. Just when Irving enters the room and he's quoting, I don't know if he's quoting Keir or Jamie, to all of my children, both related by blood and those who just work here. Crazy people. This is a cult corporation. Anyway, let's get back to our screenshots. Here in this moment, we can see some kind of an inside philosophy. Think about this. If you really want to know what is going on in a company, you should talk to people that work there for a year, to the employees, and you should do it in the lunch break. This is where all the secrets come out. If you work in the office, This is like, if you can see CEO and he's basically giving a speech and you think to yourself, oh my god, the speech is freaking amazing, this is the best speech ever, then you can talk to the employees and you're gonna probably discover that this CEO is giving this speech like every Wednesday and every Thursday. So they heard it like 25 times and they already know that this is a bullshit that he just gives as a motivation. I know I sound a bit bitter. Not every company is bad. Obviously, there are great offices. I was lucky enough to work with amazing people, and I had some great bosses in my life too. But I'm talking here about some kind of a like generic rule, general rule of this. So yeah, like if you really want to understand all of the principles, all of the philosophy, like the real communication that happens in the office, you should talk to people that work there for a couple of months or maybe even years, and you should talk to them without their bosses. And this is what we're gonna do right now, because we see like Dylan here is giving us some kind of, like inside lore, some kind of a similar to the urban mythologies we have, like not an official kind of religion or something like this. So he's talking about like Kier sorted all the departments by virtue, and we're like amazing, we are clever and true, but O&D is cruelty centered. So once again, this is like complete bullshit that only children will believe. Like if they're telling you you're so awesome, and by the way, those people next to you, they're just evil as hell, I mean, something is wrong here, something smells bad here. So yeah, like also as soon as Heli asking about how many departments there are, none of them knows. And we know also that when Lumon wants their employers to know something, they will know it. They will repeat it 25,000 times a day. They know all of the quotes from the book of management or whatever you call it. They know all of the quotes by Kier Egan, but none of them knows how many departments there are. Somebody thinks it's 5, somebody thinks it's 30. So once again, this is a secret that Lumon wants to keep. So why? Because they want to keep them separated. If they are separated, they are easier to control. Also, like this is why they were reduced down to 2. He'd have no idea that the O&D department is pretty big, as we're gonna see in one of the future episodes, but they're being told that there are only 2, because O&D is probably being told that they need to show that there are only 2 of them, because once again, R&D is a bad department. That's if they're gonna discover that there are a lot of them, they're gonna come and massacre them once again. Some shit like that. Anyway, we're moving forward to the room, and we have once again an inside look to the whole Lumon philosophy. We have a quote by Jamie Egan, the current CEO, and we have the quote by Kier Egan, the founder of Lumon. History lives in us, whether we learn it or not. This is a very important quote, and we have also the remembered man does not decay. Now, maybe Kier Egan's whole goal was to be remembered. I mean, even if we talk about the Greek mythology, but Achilles wanted to be remembered because he wanted to achieve immortality that way. This is the only way to achieve sort of immortality for a man, to become like very famous. Even after you die, years and years, thousands of years after your death, people are still talking about you. This can be considered an immortality, but maybe somewhere along the way, either Kier or maybe one of his descendants, they decided it's not enough. We want to become completely immortal. I don't really care if somebody remembers me, I just want to be immortal. Quotation, Kier Egan, praise Kier. Anyway, moving forward, like come now, children of my industry. You remember I was talking about it a couple of minutes ago, and know the children of my blood. So they're basically children of his blood, his family, his descendants, his children, and we have, the children of my industry, everybody who is working for him. And he actually considers them as children, and this TV show takes it to another level because some of them actually are children in a grown-up body, are severed people. So this moment is also very interesting to me. I mean, look at Heli. The first time she's seen Jamie Egan, her face is like, what the hell is that? Who is this vampire dude? I mean, this is not a real person. I mean, she's basically laughing at him, but then when she walks, her face completely changes. She feels something. This is her father. So once again, we're being shown here that the personality is not completely severed. I mean, she can feel something. So she has the connection to her Audi, even though she doesn't understand that she has this, but she can feel it. So if this the case, those people can be reintegrated, those people can become whole again, and this is something we're probably gonna see in the future seasons. This moment is very weird for me. I was talking about it already in my analysis of the intro for second season. There is some kind of a liquid here. It's in the opposite to some weight or something like this. It's standing right next to Kir Egan, and it's probably supposed to represent once again the tempers, their soul, the whatever. So maybe this liquid is the representation of human soul, and when it's heavier than this weight, this is when you become a good human being. You're being a remedium hominibus. I'm sorry for this word. Anyway, I have no idea. If any of you have a clue what this liquid is, I would love to read it in the comments. So this moment, once again, like you can see, the furniture is pretty old-ish kinda here, and we have those people here smiling, not very important, but like listen to Irving here. He's saying, what I learned that I work for a company that has been actively caring for mankind since 1866. And here he's saying, my point is that you're part of history now. And if we come back to the quote by Jamie Egan, like history lives in us, whether we learn it or not, once again, it kind of, opens the whole gate to Lumon's philosophy, to their vision of the world. Like, this is how we stay immortal. We create this history and we make it alive in a new people. And it's way easier to make this history to be alive in somebody completely new, like severed people, when their personality is being divided to two and basically leaves a lot of space for new information to be just put there without any defense mechanisms. Like, what the kind of bullshit is even that? Anyway, we're moving forward to Egan's house. We see the sleepers, do not lie in Kir Egan's bed. Once again, we see here like 4 somethings hidden under like a glass or something like this. Once again, it's probably some kind of a representation of the 4 tempers. I tried to look in and understand what is going on there. Couldn't really understand. Like, his place is very efficient. Like, we have this working table here. It looks like it's not exaggerated. It's not like in abundance of wealth. It doesn't look like it is a place of a super rich person. It looks like somebody who is doing pretty well for himself, like really, really well for himself. But still, it doesn't look like it's the richest person on the face of Earth. So here in this moment, we can see once again those something under the glass, like we have some kind of a chalice here. Once again, something related to liquid. Here in the shot, you can actually see that there is some kind of a chalice. Okay, once again, liquid, something. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something because I'm not American. Maybe you guys go to the bar and you ask to pour yourself some frolic or some woo or something like this. So let me know in the comments once again if I'm missing something. Here in this moment we can see that Irving, with his fiery passion for Lumon philosophy, he is saying to Mark that living soul of Lumon and everything she stands for. He is referring to Lumon as a she, and I think this is a good point to start talk about the bingo. And this is once again to drive my point about, if you want to know something about the company, talk to the people who are there for a while. This whole bingo is actually a very good look into the soul of Lumon, because those are the moments and the points and everything they're trying to find there is something they probably heard hundreds or at least dozens of times. Since they're there for a couple of years, they're pretty tired of it. This is like a drinking game. When you know that something is going to be repeated many times, you decide that this is going to be a trigger to drink. Something like this with the bingo. So I try to find every one of those, sentences here, and I think I was able to do it. Some of them I was guessing, but I'm pretty confident in my guess, since I've seen most of the letters. But most of them, I'm 100% sure they are it. So once again, let's move to the board and let's try to understand what's going on. So let's look here at the philosophy and culture. And this is the philosophy and culture of the management. This is how they perceive their vision, whatever Lumon is supposed to be. Let's now see what the employees, even the severed employees, thinking about Lumon. So we have Egan depicted with halo. Okay, so Egan every time is depicted with halo, trying to make him divine, trying to make him, a religious figure, and everybody is laughing at it already. What the hell is dagling? I don't know. I googled the word, since, English is not my main language, so I thought maybe this is not a word that I just know, because there's probably a lot of words in English that I don't know. But dagling, as far as I can see, this is not a word. Have no idea what it is. Please let me know if you have some information in the comments. We have the 4 tempers referenced. Once again, everybody talks about the tempers. We have the Lumon will save the world. You remember I told you we're going to come back to it. So once again, this is a theme that has been repeated many times. We're going to save the world. What we do here is going to save the world. I mean, come on, you're there to make profit. And we have the unexpected Egan death. So this is not something I have more information about it. Hopefully I'm gonna get it in the future episodes, but looks like someone from the Egans died unexpectedly. And since we're talking here about lumens, I think that every time somebody dies unexpectedly, there is malice, pun intended, involved. So we have lumen referenced as she. We have monocle, I don't remember seeing one. We have the monogram pen, also don't remember seeing one. We have the wax tears. Also don't remember seeing them on the statues of the Lumen executives. And we have the erection used in the construction sense. This is probably something that Dylan added, 100% confident about it. This is definitely his personality. We have the lock of old hair, probably myrtles or something creepy like this. We have a picture of a child with rickets. And we remember that Kir Egan is presented to us. I don't know if it's really is the case or it's just, a mythology to show how he basically conquered every challenge that was in his life. He was like a cripple in the beginning of his life. He had some kind of a disability, and then he managed to become this strong and amazing person. And we have passive shit talking about Ambrose. Yeah, we've seen that also, and he's being referred to as a black sheep. We have goodliness referenced. What the hell is goodliness? I don't know. I don't think it's actually a word. We have the 9 core values listed, and we have the prominent wax bulge. Once again, I'm pretty confident that Dylan added this one, and I don't remember seeing the bulge. So it's, once again, the creators of Severance, please, you need to fill this blank for us. And the final topic I want to discuss today is the break room, and obviously it took me way longer than it's supposed to understand that break room is, breaking somebody instead of, taking a break. But yeah, I'm Igor, I'm 37 years old, and it took me, I don't know how many months to actually get that pun. So yeah, in this moment we can see the whole, punishment, we can see how it feels and looks like torture. And what is interesting for me, once again, in this moment, when Haley R is saying she doesn't want to read this, look at the reaction by Mr. Milkshake, like, no. Do. This is a very weird choice of words. It feels like a command, and then Haley R, and we know that she is not somebody who follows orders, lightly. She gives up pretty much immediately and starts to read it. And it kind of made me think maybe there is something in the chip that kind of makes, our inis to be more sustained to commands, maybe to be more, easier to command at certain situation. But this is not all. Like, in the conversation, the whole, everything that she reads, by the way, it's also obviously added to my board, but it's obviously some kind of a brainwashing. If you repeat something hundreds or thousands of times, at some point, you're being tortured, okay? And you know that the way to stop it is actually to believe those words. And you don't want to believe them, you don't believe them, but your body and your brain will fight for survival, okay? And at some point, it will find a way to believe those words, and this is what's called brainwashing. Now, another very interesting moment for me here is that even though there are some kind of a machines that look like a polygraph, and we can see that they are counting her heart rate or something like this, at this moment, Mr. Milkshake, after she finished reading it once, he looks at Selvig, and Selvig gives him this, the nod of no, keep going. So who's actually checking whether, Haley is meaning what she's saying or she's just lying? Is it the machine, or is it Miss Selvig, who's like a computer or a robot and basically reading Haley? So as you can see, being a father and a YouTuber sometimes demands some kind of, workarounds, but I still managed to give you all of my points, everything I wanted to share with you, and I would love to read what do you think about it. And right now we're gonna have to try to sleep a little bit, and I hope I'm gonna see you on the next one. Bye!